Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte clear liners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you could pay with your HSA, FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Where's my brain? Happy Friday the 13th, everyone, and welcome back to Little Cuts, our weekly mini-sode where we dig into the things that we've been watching recently, I believe. I'm Terry.
I am Mary Beth. I'm getting over a cold, all that good shit.
Same.
This week we're talking about R-rated X-Men, a weird documentary, Chucky Takes the White House, Witches Falling from the Sky, a new addition to the Halloween watch list, and weird linguistic cosmic horror. And speaking of cosmic horror,
that last part.
Look at this. It's a squishable, and everyone you are hearing this, it's a biblically accurate squishable stuffed animal.
That is so cute.
I spent my adult dollars on this, and now I have almost all of their cryptid collection / weird otherworldly being collection. So
is that a squishable? Is that
it's a squishable? Yeah, it's the squishable brand.
I didn't know that they had like weird cosmic
creatures. I don't have any of them in here.
I mean, I know that you've had like cryptids, right?
Yeah, so I don't have any of them in here, but I have I have the Plague Doctor from them. I have the Baphomet from them. I don't have the Mothman. I already have so many Mothman things, so I didn't buy the Mothman yet because as much as I would love to have every Mothman thing forever, my husband does tell me we don't need that many stuffed animals in the house, so he tries to keep me kind of reeled in from having just stuffed animals of creepy shit in the house. But he did understand why I needed the biblically accurate small squishable. How could you deny me this?
How could you?
Anyway. After talking about my beautiful son. Oh, okay. I was like,
which you're gonna have to share pictures of, so that everyone can see once the episode goes live.
Yes, that's very.
He is really cute.
He's just a boy. Just taking selfies while we record. Anyway, okay, cool.
But before we do talk about our movies, there's two things. One, I think I'm going to be in the clear so far with not having to watch Infested. We have gotten a few reviews. We've gotten 2, and I know...
Oh, yay! Okay.
So, for those who have not been keeping up, I did make the boneheaded and spur-of-the-moment decision that if we got to 200 ratings or reviews on iTunes by the end of this year, that when it came out, or when I had the ability to watch it, I would watch and probably film myself for reactions of Infested, the spider horrible movie that everyone tells me I will cease to be if I watch. So we did get one review that was specifically for this movie.
Hell yeah.
That says, I love this podcast. I'm always learning about some weird new movie to check out, and it feels like hanging out with your horror nerd besties. But most importantly, Terry needs to watch Infested. The name of the review is Spiders for Terry. And then they said, I actually can't believe I haven't left a rating for the show yet! ! So thank you, Beekman Street.
Oh my god. Thank you. Wait. Spiders for Terry on a shirt would be so funny.
Spiders for Terry.
Titties for Terry.
It's like
Spiders for Terry.
Titties for Terry, yeah. It's an escalation. And so that aside, listeners, please maybe do, maybe don't. At this point, I'm not really sure which I would prefer. Leave a review on iTunes or a rating, preferably 5 stars. And we'll see what happens. But also, I'm curious because it is Friday the 13th. Do you do anything? Are you going to do anything?
No, I don't really do
Yeah.
anything.
No
I have never gotten to like the. I never
Jason
got.
marathons?
It's not my favorite, and that's okay. I'll probably
Yeah.
watch. Here's the thing: I'm always watching something spooky at this point, like, and especially this month. It's my nephew's birthday tomorrow too, so like that's kind of cool. His first birthday is on Friday the 13th,
That's
which
really
I love and find a beautifully auspicious omen for him. They might think otherwise, but I think it's cute. They actually, oh my god, my sister-in-law actually joked to her mom that I was gonna plan the whole party and make it horror movie themed, and her mom was like, "What?" I was like, "Hey, I would make it tasteful. You saw my wedding."
Have you seen Jason X?
I have. I love Jason X. I do love Jason X. It's so fun. Yeah, it's dumb.
Have you
but
seen Jason Goes to Hell?
No. You know what? Actually, maybe I'll imbibe tomorrow with the husband and we watch that. That actually might be really fun.
That would be.
I'm down for something dumb. I want to get just like kind of stoned and watch something silly.
I think that would be a great option. I think that'd be a great option.
Okay. Hell yeah. All right. Well, everybody get ready for check on me later tonight on Twitter and see what's going down. And if you're listening to this in the future, Google for I don't know. Find it. You'll find it somehow. R-rated X-Men. What?
Yeah. All right. I've been watching Gen V.
Okay.
The spin-off of
Yes.
The Boys.
Okay.
Which have you watched The Boys?
Mm-hmm. I'm not fully caught up on the most recent season.
Okay.
Yeah, I like The Boys.
I do too. I really am digging Gen V.
Sorry, I liked The Boys, and then they did something really annoying with his wife, and I got really pissed, and then I kind of soured on it a little bit. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so Gen V is sort of the spin-off that is like What If X-Men. Like it's a bunch of like kids going to like an X-Men-esque school for superheroes, and there's something nefarious going on, of course, because it's The Boys.
Of course.
And it has Patrick Schwarzenegger is in it, who we all love from Daniel Isn't Real, and he kind of plays the the golden boy of like the school where he is like, and his ability is that he's kind of like the Fantastic Four Human Torch character where he can like turn in flames, and of course that means that he burns away his clothes while he's doing it, which is kind of fun. We don't really
You're
see.
hot. Haha. Didn't. Anyway.
And it follows this this young woman who played by Jazz Sinclair, who comes from her introduction. She's 13 years old. She's having her period for the first time.
Oof.
She
Never fun.
She's
never
up,
a good time.
Well, just this is a period from hell. So she's up in the bathroom because she like realizes something's going on. Her mom has this like knowing look and goes upstairs to check on her. While she's in the bathroom and her hand comes away with some red on it, then all of a sudden blood is floating up in front of her.
Oh.
And her powers are materializing where she can control blood. But unfortunately, she freaks out. Her mom thinks something's wrong. She bursts in the room, and with like unleashing her powers with unable to do it, she sends a blood shard through her mom and kills her. And then her dad comes in to figure out what's going on, and she ends up freaking out even more and then causes a blood explosion that also kills him.
What?
And then her sister comes in and surveys the damage. Her sister does not die, but thinks that Marie, Jazz Sinclair's character, is a monster. And so she is sent to this sort of like orphanage school. She's trying to get into this God U is what it's called, the university for superheroes. And she ends up getting in, but she is sort of like the poor, no relations to anyone going to an Ivy League school. And so we have that aspect of it where everyone there seems to be connected to the superhero world and she is not. So all that's going on. So it's like dealing with sort of like a typical like college experience where there's drama and there's people sleeping behind people's backs and all that kind of stuff. At the same time that we're dealing with people that have superhero powers. And there's this potentially a darker side to the school happening just sort of beneath the ground that becomes like the mystery that is falling for it. I will give a content advisory that if you have an eating disorder, one of the characters has ability is tied to binging and purging.
Ooh,
which is unfortunate for her, where she can change her height, but it's all about eating things to get bigger, purging them to get smaller. So I will give that out there because I do think it's a little. I mean, the show's irreverent, obviously, but I do think it kind of is questionable in that because. So I'm not 100% sure what to say about it, but so I just want to give that out there that if you do have an eating disorder, that is something that you might need to prepare for or maybe skip. She also gets small and hangs off of a guy's dick, and we see that. So we get this.
Oh, great. So we have more of that weird dick stuff. Like, why all the dick stuff?
So like the little Ant-Man guy that crawls into it, she is literally hanging off this dick and she kicks the balls a few times and it's really kind of funny. Like I laughed. But yeah. So it's if you enjoy The Boys, this is I think a lot of fun, minus a couple parts where I do think it crosses that line that the show always sort of, ties that line, but like I do think that maybe some of it might go a little bit overboard, but I'm still having a good time, so I do want to recommend it if you're watching it. I've seen the first 6 episodes. I'm enjoying it. I think, is episode 5 maybe out this week? I can't remember, but it's good if you enjoy that, if you enjoy The Boys.
Cool.
So that's Gen V. What about this weird documentary?
Okay, so this is David Farrier's new documentary, Mr. Organ. David Farrier is the mind behind the documentary Tickled. Which has changed my life. And this is his new documentary that's like darkly hilarious and one of like the wildest things I've ever seen. And it's not that let me explain why this is wild, because it's not like this it's about a real life energy vampire who is the epitome of narcissism and is just like the objectively perhaps one of the worst people on the planet, because he is just like he's like banal evil, like just a bad person, but he is not in a position of power anywhere. But so David Farrier was doing research on this parking lot scam where this guy was like charging exorbitant amounts of money for people to park there. And because David Farrier is a journalist, he lived in New Zealand at the time, he was just like trying to figure out like what the fuck is going on. And what he ended up doing was finding out about this guy, Michael Organ, and getting like falling into this like weird relationship with this guy where this guy was like following him, had keys made to his house, was like gaslighting him into thinking things didn't happen. And it's just like this crazy documentary about like a 6-year like emotional and mental manipulation tactic where David Farrier David Farrier was like trying to figure this guy out, and the guy like got him basically. And David Farrier moved out of New Zealand to get away from this guy. Like David Farrier now lives like not in New Zealand because of this man. And this man is like showing up to screenings in New Zealand and like talking shit. Like this guy is still around and is like being insane. It's like, it's so hard to explain. You just have to like, you watch it and you're like, what do you mean this guy did that? What do you mean? And it's just this guy, like random white guy has just like incredibly narcissistic and loves to victimize people and to just fuck with them. And it's just like so fucking scary because it's just a dude. Like it's not a government official. It's not anyone really important. It's just a guy who's fucking shitty. And so many people hate being around him because he is like a miserable piece of shit. And it's nuts. Yeah. It's weird.
I mean, that's what I went into Tickled and was like surprised at, the twists and turns that documentary went. I haven't seen Dark Tourist, which is on Netflix, but where
I
he
haven't
goes to
either.
like a bunch of like scary, wild tourist spots that for like extreme tourism. But I wanted to see Mr. Oregon, so is that out now?
So
Finally,
it's out as of today on VOD, and I'm
okay.
gonna shamelessly plug my interview with David Farrier on Dread Central because it was a really good interview where he like shared like all of the stuff that has happened afterward. So it's a really
He's someone I would
interesting.
love to get on the pod.
If you want a documentary that is not like full on depressing, it's not like this it's like it's got like it feels like true crime at first, and then it's just like it's not it's just it's a weird psychological mind game that's like darkly funny, and all of us know someone that's kind of like this guy. So it's just wild to see like the depths that narcissism goes and what that narcissism looks like, because I don't think we have a lot of like you see portrayals of narcissism in movies and you're like, okay, yeah, but it's usually like rich white guys. We don't have these like really like normal day people portrayals of narcissism, and I think it's really important that people kind of see that too, like to be a little bit more serious about it, like seeing that behavior is not okay, because I think a lot of the times these people are so good at making you think that you're the bad guy, you are wrong. Like
Right.
I know plenty of narcissists, so it's actually like weirdly reassuring to see this, because you're like, oh my god, even David Farrier, who was like an investigative journalist who we see as like a very smart man and is a very smart man, can be manipulated and like harmed by people like this. And it just is a really important, I think, kind of showing the effects those kinds of people have on everyday people. Anyway, I really liked it. Again, if you have like it might like bring you back to some like if you have experience with narcissists, like tread carefully. It's not like terrible, but you know, you'll definitely have a lot of, if you have had experiences with people like this, you will definitely be thrown back to those times. So tread carefully if so, but I would definitely check it out. David Farrier is just like,
Heck yeah.
the way he's able to find these stories is just incredible.
Yeah. That's wild.
But let's take a left turn down the road towards the White House, where Chucky's taken up residence. I am so excited to hear about it. I have not started watching what I think this is, obviously. So tell me everything about what this is.
So I've seen the first 4 episodes. I think it's being released in parts, and so I think the first part is running through October. I'm wondering if maybe the strikes. I'm wondering. I don't know. So the first part is now out right now. There's going to be 4 episodes premiering this month. I believe we are on the 2nd episode this week.
Yeah.
And I've seen all 4, and I did not know until the press kit arrived that we were going to the White House. But
oh, because you didn't watch the,
did you not watch
the trailer?
No.
Oh, that's right. Because you try not to watch the trailers. Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
What a
I
surprise!
Typically don't. If I'm planning to watch something, I anymore. If I'm like I'm gonna go see it regardless, I try not to watch the trailers for it.
That's fair.
But yeah, so Devin Sawa is back. This time he is the president of the United States.
I love it. It just makes me happy.
I do too. And he and his wife and they had 3 kids. One of them, named Joseph, passed away. And then his youngest son comes across a Chucky doll, and this sort of gets explained how that all kind of went down in one of the episodes, but comes across a Chucky doll that calls himself Joseph, which is the name of his brother. He becomes attached to this doll, and it's the first time that he was like smiling after his brother passed away. And so his parents are like, sure, take the creepy doll to the White House.
You know how it be?
As you do.
Sometimes it do be like that sometimes.
You do. Absolutely. And so this feels sort of like another soft reset in some ways, where now the drama is involving Chucky, and we find out he starts counting down as he's killing people, like 3 to go. And you're like, what is going on? I'm not going to spoil it, but this show does explain what is going on, why he's desperate to kill 6 people. While this is happening, we catch up with our heroes, Jake, Devin, and Lexi, who Lexi's trying to find her sister because she vanished at the end of the last season. Jake and Devin are getting more serious in their relationship. They have their adopted teacher mom who is taking care of them after they were all orphaned by the end of season 2. I'm laughing. It's not funny, but it's also
just fucked
ridiculous.
Up. Just yep, all of their parents are dead. A kid's missing. The normal shit. Having
the normal
childhood.
And this show is upping the camp higher than it was last season, which I did not know was possible. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not 100% sure it's going to be my favorite season of the 3, at least so far.
Okay.
But it's enjoyable. It's still really funny. It's still got some really creative kills. And Chucky is fucking up people in the White House. So
okay, yeah, that sounds right.
Here we go.
Cool.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I
need to catch up.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I definitely need to catch up. I'm very excited to watch it. I just, there's too much to watch. And when I'm not...
There's way too much to watch.
When I don't have to review it. Cool, but I am excited to watch. I am very excited to catch up on it. And I think it is probably because of the strike, why it's like a part 1 situation.
And the other thing that I really do enjoy, which unfortunately viewers won't be able to enjoy, is the screeners that we get are not finished, and so we get to see the puppeteers in green suits maneuvering Chucky. Cool. And I really wish they would release like a Blu-ray package and have a version that has like the people not cut out, because it is really entertaining to watch. But yeah, that's Chucky, the new season, which is currently airing on TV, but also I think the next day it's on Peacock.
Yes.
So
yes.
Let's flip to the end. I want to hear about this weird linguistic cosmic horror before we cover the 2 that I know we both have seen.
Cool. So this weird linguistic cosmic horror, this is a film called All You Need Is Death. And it's a movie that James Shapiro from XYZ sent to me. It premiered at Beyond Fest last week, and he was just trying to get some reactions from other people who aren't able to attend Beyond Fest. And it's fucking nuts. It's what a contemporary cosmic horror should be, in terms of the incomprehensibility and just like full-on vibes, and then it all kind of comes together in a horrific end, and you're like, what the fuck? It's got...
Oh.
So let me just take it back to like the description. So it's directed by Paul Duane. He's an Irish filmmaker, and it's about a couple who are they're working for a woman, and they're collecting old/rare Irish folk ballads. So they're basically they're music archivists. They're academics trying to preserve this history of song in Ireland, and especially trying to preserve the Irish language, which is really important. It's a language that not a lot of people speak anymore, and this movie's also really interesting about like conserving cultural identity and the Irish cultural identity, especially in the face of like occupations and colonialism, etc. Whatever. But this couple, they're together, they're young, they're in love, they're collecting these songs, but then they hear about one, and they hear about this old woman, and they think, we have to get this song, and they go there, and when they convince her to sing it, she says, you can't record it, I'm passing this on to you, no one else, like, this is only for you, your boyfriend has to leave, this song only needs to be heard by women. And she sings the song. It's this like haunting song in a language that's like predates Irish, and their academic advisor is also there, and guess what? That bitch records it. And when she starts sharing that song, really bad shit starts going down. And to put it, in the most basic way possible. And it's a movie that you do kind of have to like be okay with just vibing with for a while. You have to be able to just kind of let yourself go into it, because it's going to explain everything. It's just going to take a bit, because it wants to get you into that like incomprehensibility horror space. And again, this might not be effective for everybody, but like the sense of dread it evokes as it like things start happening and you're like, I don't understand why this is happening so quickly and what the fuck is going on. I don't like, this is so bizarre and unlike the way people are supposed to act. And then it all comes together and you're like, oh, fuck, that's why. And it's really satisfying because
Oh, cool.
it's because I at first when I was watching it, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like this is all very weird, and then all of these things started happening, and I was like,
But see, I
holy
like
shit.
hearing that though, because I mean that is classic cosmic horror. It's the idea of like
Yeah,
you're going into things and you're seeing something that is does not make sense to you and is incomprehensible. So I do
yeah.
love that.
And it's like it's really interesting how it's done because it's like these things happen and it feels like is that like a weird editing choice? Did they just not like I honestly was like, I don't understand like what's going on here. And like I keep saying, it all comes together. And I think that's what a really big
Hmm.
benefit for it. And I think that this is a movie that people need to not know anything about, but also not try to like force yourself to understand because you're not going to. It doesn't want you to. And I think it hits that so well about cosmic horror that I wonder if some people might feel alienated by that. But I also really love how it really hits at this whole like fucking with what shouldn't be fucked with and not listening to these
Fuck around and find
traditions.
out, right?
But also this very like matriarchal weird thing. Like there's some interesting gender stuff going on and like matriarchal things and discussions about love and desire and love as something that is not positive but as something that is such a vicious feeling of violent consumption rather than. So yeah, it's weird but it's good. I
I
liked
need to
where it
see this.
ended. I was like, oh, okay. So
I
yeah,
love the poster. I'm looking at on IMDb. I need to see this.
one of the lines from the song is "Love is a knife where the handle is also a blade." Yeah, so like that's just like kind of the vibe of the movie of just like violence, but it's not like gory. But it's the overall like it's one of those movies that you feel like is gorier than it is, but it's just like it just has like a rancid in parentheses positive vibe. So I
Rancid in parentheses positive. Ah, I love
look
that.
because sometimes rancid is not a positive word, but I feel like
No.
you're allowed to describe some horror movies as rancid because that's what they're going for. And
Hmm.
yeah, because
Give me that
also
rancid horror.
yeah. So yeah, that's All You Need Is Death. I know it's XYZ. I don't know anything about distribution yet, but it good. It's weird. It's different. I've been watching so much shit recently and it just feels so good to watch something like that to be like, cool. Still
Movies are
there's still
great.
some crazy shit coming out. That is
Hell
All
yeah.
You Need Is Death. Yes. Good Irish horror.
What a great title.
Right? Fuck. So, let's now talk about a new addition to our Halloween watch list. Another movie I'm very excited about.
Yes. So this is Dark Harvest, David Slade's new movie that I talked about the book in one of the episodes last year on Little Cuts because I had been waiting. I had been waiting to read this book
Yes.
for a very long time because I was like, the movie's coming out. I wasn't sure if I wanted to watch the movie first and then read it, or if I wanted to read the book at the same time and then watch the movie. I wasn't sure, but the movie kept getting pushed back because this movie was announced in 2019, supposed to come out in 2021, then it's supposed to come out then like nothing, and so people thought maybe it'd come out in 2022. That time passed. Now it's 2023. I was facing it very with a lot of trepidation because I was like, why was it in development hell? Is this not even development hell? Why was it in release hell? Is it because it's not good? Is it because I've read the
Well,
source material now?
yeah.
And I was like, it's a very grim book. What is happening here? And it turns out that this, like Cobweb, just was buried, unfortunately. But it's now out, and I think it is absolutely fantastic. It is about this small town set in the 1960s, where every year there's this creature that emerges from the fields called Sawtooth Jack
Sawtooth
or the
Jack.
October Boy. He has like a he has a variety of names. I think they mostly call him the Sawtooth Jack in this, but his goal every year is to make it to the church in the center of town and it is the goal of teenagers who have been starved for 5 days. I think in the movie it's 3, and then unleashed on Halloween night to go stop him from coming. And these boys go absolutely feral. It's basically Purge meets Halloween night meets
Like Lord of the
Pumpkinhead.
Flies a little bit too.
Yeah, and we follow. If someone kills him, then all the boys descend and rip open his guts and eat the candy inside. Really gnarly. And then the person that killed him his family gets to be moved into like a really expensive house. The kid gets to leave town because no one is allowed to leave town, and is given money, given a new car, and he leaves town, never to look back again. And we follow his brother, who decides to partake in the run, as it's called this year, even though he's not technically allowed to. And also not allowed to is this woman that works at a young teen, not woman, I guess, but who works at the movie theater and ends up getting roped into. And I think it's a blast. What did you think, Mary Beth? Because you've not read the book.
I have not read the book. I'm familiar with the book, but I was so excited because I love David Slade. David Slade did 30 Days of Night. We all know that this bitch is ride or die for 30 Days of Night. This is his first horror movie since 30 Days of Night. I was so nervous for him because I love his movies, but sometimes he gets done dirty, and I was really worried he was going to get done dirty because I think he has a really good visual style. I think he's really good at making these, like, bleak-ass movies, and sometimes he gets screwed with these endings, but I was so excited, and I was so happy that it's so good. It's as good as it is. Like, they stuck to his visual style, like, his really kind of, like, contrasting colors. Nothing looks real. He's not trying to make this feel like the real world. He's really playing with, like, the 60s aesthetic, with making this feel like another, like, it's an uncanny feeling of, like, fantasy. It's like a contemporary fairy tale, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's in the 60s, but it's set, like, in a time we know. It's not, like, in a weird past. It's, like, very much rooted in what we know as, like, middle America, but with magic. And again, Cobweb did that really well in terms of taking suburban gothic, suburban fairy tales, and creating these pieces of horror that feel so familiar and so bizarre. And another thing we're seeing a lot this year, like this with this movie and When Evil Lurks, is getting just plopped into the middle of the world. Just being like, let's go. Like, you'll learn. And I love that. I'm really into how we're letting audiences be a part of a fully fleshed out world. We're not playing like you're dumb. We're letting people like be part of it and really become enmeshed with it, so it feels like there's stakes in the movie. And I think that's so helpful that it just kind of throws us in with all these boys, and we really can see the toxic masculinity stuff breeding already underneath all these like tensions, and it's really, really well done. And I think it is getting buried, which is just a bummer. And there's some incredible effects. The effects work in this is incredible.
Oh my gosh, the creature design.
The creature design, Sawtooth Jack, looks so good. Like,
yeah,
I was worried, but it doesn't look, it's like not cheesy. The gore is, there's like some really good gore moments in this movie too. It's such a good Halloween movie. And like, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's really, I think it's so gross, and I think it's doing something really interesting. And yeah, it's based on an IP, but it's like it's a weird IP. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's based on some like big name. It captures this like 60s toxic masculinity vibe so well, but puts it in this like culty folk. It's like it's American folk horror too. It's really interesting in terms of like a piece of American folk horror. Like, think Children of the Corn, but like way better.
Way better.
Yeah, you know what? It's like got like that vibe a little bit ish, but like way better.
Yeah. And I would like to use this opportunity to recommend listening to the book if you haven't yet, because the audio, the narrator for the book has this Scotch smooth voice. And it just brings you in. It feels like you can almost smell the bonfire, like you are sitting around a bonfire,
creepy.
You know, listening to a spooky story. And it's a short book. I think the audiobook is maybe 4 hours long. It's like a short read.
Oh, okay.
But I'll tell you,
the
audiobook,
yeah,
it's less than 200 pages. I don't know what qualifies as a novella anymore. but it's under 200 pages, and the audiobook, the narrator is fantastic. So I would like to recommend that to listen to as well, because I do think there's enough differences between the two. I do think most of the changes that the screenwriter Michael Gillio. I apologize if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong, but he also wrote or co-wrote the Dungeons and Dragons movie that came out this year. Weirdly enough, yeah, and he shared credit with a bunch of people. Like a bunch of people wrote that, but I think the changes he made to the book, for the most part, are really good here. There's just I'm not 100% sold on the ending, but other than that, I think this is a really good Halloween film, and it's out as of today on VOD, and it's Scarred for Life approved, I think.
It is Scarred for Life approved. Golden pumpkin, bitch.
All right, so finally, let's talk about Witches Falling from the Sky, a movie that I think we're both a little divergent on. But what is this movie?
So this is a movie from Fantastic Fest called Falling Stars. It is a very much micro budget witch folk horror movie.
Yep.
It is another movie that drops you into a world.
Yes, it is. You're right.
It's another movie that drops you into this world where, like, it is a world where every Halloween, or like it's not Halloween.
It's harvest.
Harvest. Like there's a time of the year where witches fall from the sky to feed. And you're supposed to stay home, abide by the curfew, and not go out so you don't get eaten by witches. And this is like Midwestern. This is like, looks like desert US, like people in a trailer park. This isn't like, oh, there's witches. It's like regular people, like blue collar people who live in a world where you just like know not to fuck with witches. And you know what the harvest is. The harvest is when they come to harvest people, and you know what to do to avoid it. And everyone has a story of someone who knew somebody who got harvested, whatever. But then these three brothers hear that someone they know shot a witch, and they want to see the body. And, going out on harvest night to go see the dead body of a witch isn't always smart. And then when your youngest brother desecrates that body, shit goes bad. And so this movie is basically taking us on this, like, pretty tense ride with these brothers who are trying to figure out how not to get eaten by witches. And it sounds cheesy, but it's shockingly not. It's like the way that it's done, I think, is really interesting in trying to keep you invested in the stakes of the world and understanding, like, how it affects different people in the world. And I know that, I think, Terry, you can share how you feel about this, because I actually really like the fact that they had the radio DJ on the brothers. I like these kind of divergent perspectives to show that, I guess it makes it feel like it feels real. It's substantiated by people outside of their sphere. It's not just these brothers and their friend, and it might, which I think you could easily be like, oh, they're making it up or whatever, but something about having like a radio DJ and like another woman who works with him, like kind of substantiating what's going on and talking about it, makes it feel more real and more like a lived-in reality. And I liked that a lot in terms of how this micro-budget, mumblegore, folk horror made... It gave me Wanting Mare vibes solely in that, like, it's creating this kind of, like, epic situation, and there's so much that could be going on in it, and we just get a tiny little sliver of it. And there's so many other things that could be happening. It's not nearly as fantastical, but I don't know. Something about it just really sold me in terms of all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I think for me, yeah. I loved... I mean, we talked a little bit before we started recording. I love the first act. I think the first act is fantastic. I do like that it is another movie, like you said, that drops us in the middle. We don't really know anything. All we see is that there's even like emergency service like notifications that come out about the witches. Like, I love that this world is created very succinctly, and yet there's no one sitting here and going like, thousands of years ago, the witches came, and it's nothing like that. It's like, this is happening. They fall out of the sky like shooting stars. Just go with it. And I love that. I do think the narrative just sort of hits a wall in that second act where I wanted to stay with the brothers. If it was giving me creepy vibes, it was giving me this isolated, claustrophobic kind of vibe, even though they were in wide open places. It was like, I love the intimacy of that story. and I love the relationships between the brothers, which, like The Origin, has some gender bending going on with the actors as well, which I think is fascinating that we've had two movies at Fantastic Fest where the one of the male characters is played by someone who isn't masculine.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But anyway, I think that for me, it kind of lost me a little bit in the second act, and then everything. I love the third act again. So it was just the divergence. And I can understand what you're saying, and I do think that you could probably take a reading with, this is a movie about people telling stories. And so who is a storyteller? A DJ who is talking about it and sharing things. Like, I can understand what was going for it. For me, it didn't work 100% with that middle part, but I think it's one of those movies that, like, I really want to see what these people, the filmmakers, do next.
Right, I know. Someone give them more money.
Because it's beautiful. It's a really well shot movie. I think the performances are great. One
of the co-directors is a cinematographer, and he did a lot of the cinematography. Yeah. And it's really cool how he can what he makes darkness look like, and how he can capture darkness to make it feel beautiful and, like, different, because it is, you know, it's dark. So how do you how do you make that look pretty? And so it's really impressive how they're able to do that in a movie that takes place almost entirely at night.
Yeah.
Well, that about does it for all the things that we watched. There's a lot coming out. There's a lot to watch. So much to do, so much to see. But that also means there's a lot of really good... I mean, like, I'm pretty impressed with some of the stuff that's come out on streaming. I think I'm a little bit bummed where it feels like some things are kind of getting dumped. But again, like, you know, Appendage is out on Hulu now, and I'm giving that a shout out again because I love when women are getting, like, movies on Hulu, and I think that seems to be doing well on that streamer. I don't know. It's just, like, there's so much to watch, and I'm glad that there's so many cool things to watch, and I hope people check them out and not just go see Exorcist, because there are better things on streaming services, I promise.
And speaking of something that is on streaming service that might have fallen through the cracks, who are we talking with?
Yes.
On Monday, Mary Beth.
So on Monday we're talking
Look at that segue.
Yeah, that was great. That was beautiful. That was smooth as butter. But we're chatting with Daniel Montgomery. He's the writer and director and one of the leads in his feature film directorial debut, The Jessica Cabin, which is produced by a friend of the show, Michael Verratti, also former guest. He brought with him the Haunted Mask episode of Goosebumps. And you get to hear all that
and
shit fucked my head.
It did. And I did not even realize until we were, like, talking with him that he also co-hosts a podcast about Goosebumps. So, like, this is a fan. With his twin.
Like, you'll hear, he painted his walls a certain color because of Carly Beth's walls in the Haunted Mask. Like, it's insane. But his movie, The Jessica Cabin, is a really cute / heartbreaking queer ghost story that's out now on VOD. So please check that out. You want to give some queer horror some love, give that one a watch. It's not scary, but it's melancholy and it's ghosts. So give it a shot.
Heck yeah. It's good.
It's good. So listeners, you've heard from us, but we want to hear from you. Did you watch anything that we watched this week and have thoughts? Do you have suggestions for things that we need to be watching? Send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us on social media. I am at MB McAndrews on Twitter and Blue Sky, and at mb.mcandrews on Instagram.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful everywhere.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast on all the social medias, at Scarred Podcast on Twitter and Blue Sky, at Scarred for Life Podcast on Instagram.
And please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe, especially that review part, if you want to see me watch spiders.
Woo!
Which I don't want to do, but here we are. And then our Patreon is still in a hiatus if you're listening to this right away, but we will be coming back in force pretty soon. So
yes.
Keep that up.
Yes.
Keep that up.
Keep that up. Keep it up. Keep it up,
Keep
folks.
that up.
Keep it up, folks. Wow. Thank you to Eric Power for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you everyone for listening. Please stay safe out there. But most importantly, stay creepy.
Until next time.